where the modem, where the router is, and the internet had gone down. Now it's back up. Okay, Joe, you're back.
Hello.
Okay, we can just. I know this was just.
Would you like to
Ah,
start from the beginning?
no, we don't have to start from the beginning. Everybody knows where they can get the Tempest link and where they can get the Amazon link. Yeah, that was really weird because I think that's the first time it's happened right at the start of the show where the whole the internet just crashed, and now it's all back up again. Very, very strange happenings here, folks. Woo! So,
Wonder if
anyhow,
Red Buttons is around.
what's that?
I said I wonder if Red Buttons
Yeah,
is
right.
watching. Yeah.
Okay,
Strange
it's
things are happening.
happening. They are. We already have a couple of super chat hits that I do want to acknowledge, and I hope everybody had a great weekend. Okay, because now we're into the. I always think the days going into Christmas are the most fun. I'm very up for this time of year. Very up. Yes, I got my hair done, Ruben. You must be happy now. Scott Briller hitting the tip jar, and he's going on holiday break, so we'll get a break. It's a super chat, a Briller Jeopardy break until New Year, and enjoy your time, Scott. Thanks for all you do. Bill Uber, William Uber, thank you for banging the tip jar tonight. That's most appreciated as well. And here we go. So, this is one of the things I've said many times, Joe. You and I have talked about this with respect to when it comes to wintertime and anticipation of storms. And you sort of look at the long range, and the long range does this, and the long range does that, and then it's gone, and so on. And oftentimes, you get stuff that sort of appears at the last minute, and well, we're not quite the last minute, but close enough. And I'm referencing a system that we may get for later Friday into the first part of Saturday. But before we get to that, we have what I would describe as probably an upper trough and a warm front that's coming through, especially at higher levels, and that's going to trigger a period of snow late tonight into the first part of tomorrow. Probably goes over to rain along the coast before it ends. And I mean, it looks like a light event. I'm hoping because warm fronts can sometimes throw a little surprise, and hopefully there won't be a surprise because I'm not forecasting one.
Okay, well, first off, I'm trying to refresh this on three different occasions, and I'm still seeing on my screen. I don't know if it's on everybody else's. The title slide with the view of the United States and the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast ahead of Christmas. I'm not seeing any map. I'm not seeing you. I'm not seeing me.
I'll give it
So,
another refresh because it's probably behind. If not, if the chat board's working, everything is working, so it's going somewhere.
well, I'll try it again. Oh, there we are.
There you go.
Okay.
So, all right, now
Okay.
get to my point.
Your point is absolutely correct that this event tomorrow pretty much was not on the radar, I think, of most people just several days ago. And the now we're looking at an event on Friday that could turn out to be even greater. I mean, remember last week we were joking about the fact that Central Park was one hundredth of an inch shy of the 3 inch total, which would perhaps give them the potential for an above normal snow year. And up until last week, it looked like that's how it was going to be 2.9 inches for the year. Now it's looking like they may pick up at least that much tomorrow, at least another hundredth of an inch tomorrow to give them 3 inches total for the season. And if not tomorrow, certainly it looks like Friday looks like a day where they could get more than just a few inches, even down in New York City. And again, this was not on the radar. This was not evident to most of us just a few days ago. So you're right. Sometimes, especially in a very rapid, very progressive pattern, you can get these events that suddenly pop up or crop up within a matter of days. And this is an example. One shot tomorrow, another shot on Friday, and who's to say what is going to happen beyond Friday?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that has changed in this overall, I mean, we had that stretch there that lasted 3 weeks of nonstop cold, 8 degrees below average. And we've kind of normalized in the last few days with respect to temperatures. But the one thing that is keeping us from going into what would probably be, I would refer to as full blowtorch mode, is the North Atlantic Oscillation, the NAO. And just in the nick of time, if you notice, it was positive actually for the first couple from December 14th to about the 16th or 17th, and now it's going negative, and it's actually going to base out more than if you take the mean position. And this is the GFS. The European is even more negative than the GFS. Uh, but it bases out sometime around the 27th, 28th, 29th at maybe 1.25 standard deviations below the mean. And you notice that there's a lot of members that are well below that. There are some that are above, but if you just follow the mean position, and by the NAO going negative, it's keeping that. We got a troughing out in the west, and California is feeling it now because that endless flow into the Pacific Northwest has shifted southward pretty much on schedule. But thanks to the NAO, we are not only not going to get into a full blowtorch mode, but we're probably going to have some colder air masses coming in for the first part of January. And yeah, I agree. It's going to be tough for models to pick these things out. When you look at the long range, they'll show up on one run, they'll be gone in the next. But with all that energy streaming into California and all that energy coming into the Pacific, any one of those short waves comes across the country, and you got the NAO looking like this. You could wind up with more snow chances as we head into January.
The Friday event is going to be dependent upon where that next system tracks. And if you were to look at the icon has it tracking close enough to us so that we would get an event, a snow to rain event. But all the other global models, especially the European and the GFS, are tracking this thing further south, keeping us in the colder air longer, and possibly providing us with more than just a few inches of snow. And you're absolutely right. I think it was Chuck Cardillo. I said 1/100th of an inch. No, Central Park is 1/10 of an inch shy of 3 inches.
Right.
I'm sure that the way things are looking now, Joe, that Central Park will get before the end of the month that 1/10 of an inch, which would put them over 3 inches. And again, based upon climatology and the law of averages, that would suggest that this would be an above normal snowfall year at Central Park. We'll see.
Yeah, there's no real. The other issue here is with this first system is that there's no the cold air is going out, so you're working with whatever's left. So the faster it comes in, the better chance that you have to see a longer period of snow. And we've got some snow actually on the radar over just getting now already moved into western Pennsylvania and is pushing eastward. So if it comes in fast enough, I wouldn't be surprised if the city puts down a coating, maybe even as much as a half an inch, and that you get maybe a coating to a half inch in some coastal areas and in parts of central Jersey. We do have winter weather advisories. Let me show you the where it is on the maps. We do have winter weather advisories up for the lower Hudson Valley. I don't believe, Joe, it was into northern Westchester, but I think they have one for you and for Orange County, and then going up into the Catskills and points north into upstate New York, as well as parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and also for some of the mountains in west central Pennsylvania, and even in a few of the higher mountains in eastern parts of West Virginia on the east side of the Appalachians. Meanwhile, look at California. The whole state, except for a few counties in the southwest, in the southeast, are under flash flood watches. We've got various high wind warnings and wind advisories. We have winter storm warnings up for the Sierra Nevadas. What's happened is that flow from the Pacific, and I'll show you it on the satellite loop, has shifted southward. Oh, the clouds are rolling into California. Remember, all that was rolling into Oregon, Washington, and into southwest Canada. Well, that's kind of split off a bit. There's a system going into southwest Canada now, and then a gap, and then you've got that subtropical jet that's streaming northward into California, and all of that goes up into the Dakotas, and then turns east over the Great Lakes, and then turns east southeast when it gets along the east coast, because the NAO being negative is pushing all that, trying to suppress everything a little bit further to the south.
Absolutely. And the question about tomorrow is going to be, as you just said, is the cold air is going out. This looks to be like a snowfall, a relatively minor or modest snowfall, but also the consistency of the snow looks to be more slushy, unlike the last snow that we had here about a week ago, which was a puffy, powdery type of snow. This snow looks to be a bit slushy and mushy, and it could very well be that, especially south of Interstate 287, if you're in the lower Hudson Valley, that snow will change over to rain before it comes to an end. It looks like the bulk of the snow or the bulk of the precipitation, Joe, comes before noontime tomorrow. Then after noon, it looks like it's going to begin tapering off and could very well be over said and done by the end of the afternoon. In fact, it wouldn't be surprising to me if we had some pokes of sun showing up through the clouds late in the day tomorrow, although the clouds will continue to hang in for the most part into tomorrow night. Then we'll dry out and clear out completely. It looks like Christmas Eve will be a bright, sunny, blustery kind of day with temperatures in the 30s to around 40. I was seeing um, reports on the evening newscast, the national evening newscast, talking about how terrible the travel conditions are going to be. Well, it's going to be, it's not going to be great tomorrow, but for those who are leaving on Christmas Eve to go to, wherever they're going, here in the Northeast, it looks like it's going to be a fine and dry day. In fact, it looks like the weather will take a deep breath before the next round of anything, the next atrocity, as you might want to call it, comes our way at the end of this week.
There's a radar at the moment, and there is snow, and I imagine some of this is reaching the ground in western half of Pennsylvania. It's also extending southward into western Maryland and northern Virginia. I always like to look when I look at the radar with snow echoes. Um, you look where the green is, and that's a pretty good indicator of where it's reaching the ground. Where you see that bluish gray, it's probably aloft. Now there are sometimes in big storms that you'll see the bluish gray. It's snowing in the bluish gray. You're in trouble if that's the case, because when you get into the higher strength green echoes that come overhead, most of the time, especially if there's Arctic air around, you wind up immediately going to moderate snow. So one of the things you got to look for here with respect to this is you check the observations and how they match up with the radar, and how much of this is going to hold together during the overnight remains to be seen. But it looks like, this is typical warm front look that's pushing east. So the question is, sometimes these things do energize themselves and you wind up with local surprises. So I wouldn't rule it out. It's not the strongest warm front in the world, so I'm not really overly enthused on the idea of a big jackpot zone going on. I don't think we're going to get like we got back a week or so ago. I don't think we're going to see a repeat performance. Meanwhile, out in the West, you're starting to see some rain coming into California, which is only the beginning. And we're still seeing some heavy rains in Washington and Northwest Oregon from that system that's off the coast in southwestern Canada. And here is WPC's precip forecast. Now, there's two events here in the East. So the bulk of what you see here is for the second event. In total, we're looking at liquid equivalents of an inch and a half, a little stripe of an inch and a half being drawn right along the south shore of Long Island and areas in touching Monmouth County in northeast New Jersey near Sandy Hook. Also, inch and a half plus in upstate New York, inch and a half plus liquid amounts in western Pennsylvania. And then you look at California, which is just getting hammered here. We've got areas of 10 inches of rain plus up and down the entire state. I mean, just almost everywhere. And the Sierra Nevadas, a lot of that's going to be snow, where you got the same thing, liquid equivalents of 10 inches plus. Some of it's going to be rain, but a good portion of it is going to wind up being snow, and still some additional rainfall amounts of maybe 1 to 2 inches in the Pacific Northwest. But that's, at least we're not seeing the endless day after day of 10 inches plus in that particular area. So let's look at the NAM, because the NAM has had a bit of a hot hand lately, and we'll see what that does. This is the
And
eighth.
if you can give me sharing capabilities
Yeah.
because I do want to show a couple of things.
Oh,
So,
you want to show them now?
sure.
You're all set to go.
All right, hang on for a second. Let me just get where I want get what I want to show. Where are you, Joe? Oh, I didn't want that, and I want. Oh, you're teeny tiny. Let me just
By the
bring
way,
you back to full screen or whatever.
let me just say
And
really
yeah.
quick. We've got a nice audience tonight. Welcome to everybody on the chat board. Sorry for the mess at the beginning. And welcome to those of you who are lurking in the background, because a lot of you are on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're here. We're going to have some schedule changes this week. We're not going to be here. We'll be here tomorrow. We won't be here Wednesday, and we won't be here Thursday, Christmas Day. But I think we're going to be here Friday, Mr. Rayo.
Oh, we are.
I think
Why,
so.
why? What's happening Friday?
Well, with the next one. So right now,
Ruben,
that's
Ruben, Ruben Fairchild keeps saying Janice Huffington is calling for snow on Friday, and I'd like to point out to Mr. Fairchild that that is not the person's name. It is not Janice Huffington. It's Janice Huff. You can knock off of the middle and latter part of that. It's not Huffington. It's Huff. And as far as making a forecast this far out for specific accumulations, whether it's going to be heavy snow or no snow or whatever like that, I still say the way things are rolling, that you still got 4 days to go and a lot can happen in 4 days. But yeah, if we do get some kind of snow on Friday, actually the event, if we do go on Friday, the event will be well into occurring. It will already probably be in progress, but we'll see. We'll see how things going. But tentatively, right now, it does look like Boxing Day, Friday. We will have a Joe and Joe.
yes. Okay. You going to show your stuff?
I am I screen sharing already? I should
Yeah.
be screen
Yeah.
sharing.
Your head's up on the screen.
Okay. Well, we're talking about how this event tomorrow is going to be generated chiefly or primarily as a warm front. Well, here is the 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time position of the atmospheric energy, the FGen or the Omega, which will be back here over in northwestern Pennsylvania, not even into western New York. This is more like Ontario than anything else. And if we move things along, this is the GFS forecast now. You can see that by 12Z, 7 a.m. tomorrow, we probably will be snowing. We probably will have tomorrow morning light snow falling across a good part of the tri-state area because the air is cold right now, but the air will also be warming up ahead of that approaching front. Take a look how beautifully the area of FGen is indicating this. This is the area of the greatest intensity for precipitation. So it has not yet quite reached the immediate tri-state area, although over north central New Jersey and maybe for Staten Island, the precip, whatever it is going to be coming down a bit harder by 7 a.m. But look what happens between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. tomorrow. Boom! The FGen, for the most part, is now east and south of the tri-state area. Here it is. It actually seems that as it approaches, it splits apart or breaks apart. One area of dynamic weather goes east and south of the New York metropolitan area, and a smaller piece goes up to the north. So I would suppose, Joe, that between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. tomorrow, sometime in that 6-hour interval, probably like 8, 9, 10 o'clock, whatever's going to happen is going to come down at its hardest, at its steadiest, at its most intense. But then, as we get to midday and early afternoon, it's going to start petering out or running out of gas. So if there's going to be any snow tomorrow, you're going to have to put it down in the early hours of the day tomorrow. During the perhaps morning commute, there'll be a bit of light, steady snow, and then it may rev up a little bit by 8, 9 o'clock. But then after 10 or 11 o'clock, if this is correct, if the FGen forecast is correct, it's going to start winding down, and it may be actually over, for all intents and purposes, whatever, snow or rain, by early afternoon tomorrow. Now, just to back this up, let's take a look at the NAM And the NAM is forecasting tomorrow. We'll back it up because they have more time frames to show you. Just like the GFS, the NAM is showing that the majority of the FGen or the Omega is just off to the south and west of New York City. And there's you could see how the contours are close together. So it's a fairly good punch, if you will, heading in from the west. But look what happens in the hours that follow: 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 a.m., 1 p.m. So you can see that just like the GFS is indicating, while it looks like it's coming in like gangbusters from the west, with the passage of time after 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, the Omega, the best FGen, starts to diminish, starts to fall apart. And again, by 1 o'clock, for the most part, the activity is now shifted to the east and south of the New York metropolitan area. So again, an indication that this is going to be diminishing as we move into the midday and the afternoon. By the mid and late afternoon, it's all but gone. So again, whatever we get out of this tomorrow is going to come before noontime probably. And again, it could be in the form of wet snow, slushy snow, or again, since we have a marginal amount of cold air, unlike the last storm, a marginal amount, we may be seeing that give way to sleet or just plain rain across Long Island, New York, and areas south of Interstate 287 in the lower Hudson Valley. It may continue as snow or wet snow, or maybe wet snow mixed with a bit of rain to the north, but it doesn't really look like it's going to be all that much to write home about. An inch or two in most areas, maybe in the higher terrain areas of Orange County, Sullivan, Ulster County, you may get up to 3 or 4 inches. But again, this doesn't look like a tremendous amount, but it looks like something that, if whatever happens, will happen in the first part of the day tomorrow.
All right. And by the way, the NAM is a little bit on the strange side, but when Joe explained about the FGen, you can kind of see why. Because it's got this it's got this arm of snow. It doesn't even really pick up what's on the radar at the moment in Pennsylvania, which is sort of odd. And then it starts generating some stuff after about 3 or 4 a.m. across Pennsylvania, northeast Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey into Long Island by about 7 a.m. And then that area kind of slides east, and there's a little bit of a hole, and then it fills back in around 10 a.m. until 1, and then done. A little rain at the end, and of course, if you go far enough upstate New York, if you go up north of Route 84, it's going to be more snow than anything else, and then it just goes away. I mean, this is really overall, it's a weakish system. It's not anything to write home about. And there's no real, I mean, there's a little bit of cold air behind it, but it's nothing to write home about either. It's just going to keep temperatures, we'll be near normal, uh, close to normal for Wednesday, and probably close to normal on Thursday because there's another cold front. And this is something that was not indicated a few days ago. There's another cold front that's coming through on Thursday ahead of a strong high that is going to be building in southeastern Canada. And with the blockiness of what's going on, that is going to set the table for the next system for Friday. So we could switch over. I'm going to go to the European. And even before I do that, let me just show you the NAM snow amounts. As I said, are just a little bit suspect. Okay, that's the European. Let's see if that's the radar. Where is the? Let me bring up. I have the NAM snow amounts here, but for some reason it doesn't want me to take them. It won't pick them up. I'm not sure what's going on. All right, hang on, folks. Just give me a moment to try to figure this out. Okay, now I got it. So this is from what the NAM is showing in terms of precip and liquid amounts, which is generally, a quarter of an inch, maybe a little bit more as you go north. But the NAM's saying, 2 inches across New York City, northern New Jersey, and 3 inch amounts in the Hudson Valley, and in Western Connecticut, and even a 6 inch amount up in Chuck Cardillo land in northern Sullivan County, and on the other side, Delaware County. But again, this is just one model. This is the NAM. I'm going to switch over. Let's look at let's see if we can get anything out of the H triple R is not out far enough. Um, let's look at the 3 kilometer NAM because the 3 kilometer NAM did a pretty good job. Now, the numbers are a little lower, basically an inch or so in and around New York City and northern New Jersey, and maybe about 2 inches in the Hudson Valley. I mean, I honestly think that this is about the most you're going to be able to get out of this. Is if everything just plays out perfectly, somebody's going to wind up maybe with a couple of inches. You got to go. If you're looking at jackpot zones, they may not be exact, but you'll probably have a better chance of seeing them if you go well up into upstate New York. You see some of these stripes of 6 inches plus. Um, Again, it's a warm front. You never know with warm fronts. And of course, if you're in southern New Jersey and point south, maybe you get a little bit of some snowflakes at the start before it goes over, and that'll be that. So I'm kind of comfortable with what the Weather Service did. These are the Weather Service snow amounts. They kind of upped them just a little bit, up to maybe an inch across Long Island and around New York City. If one of the other keys for tomorrow, Joe, is if that is the wind. If the wind behaves itself, that'll help to keep it a little colder for a little bit longer. And they got 2 and 3 inch amounts in the Hudson Valley and 2 inch amounts and 3 inch amounts in Northwest Connecticut, and then you see the 5 inches plus as you get up into the Catskills and points north. So we'll see how cold it gets tonight. We'll probably be hovering close to freezing tomorrow morning, and how long that stays is going to really determine what you wind up with. I think you're going to get. My guess is you'll probably get maybe a half. New York City gets a half an inch, and we go over that 3 inch mark tomorrow.
Yeah, Davy, full 99. Thank you very much for hitting the tip jar. Number one says, looks like the city will actually get the 3 inches after all. How long has it been since this happened? Well, Davy, the last time that New York City had at least 3 inches or more snow in the month of December goes back quite a ways, 2020. In 2020, we had 10.5 inches at Central Park and had 38.6 inches total for the winter season, an above normal winter for snowfall, 10.5 in New York in 2020. In the years that followed, 2021, December, 2 tenths of an inch. 2022, just a trace. And in 2022, that winter, 22 and 23, we had 2.3 inches of snow. In 2023, we had only a trace and we had 7.5. And last year, 2.8 inches, and we ended up with a paltry 12.9. So it's about time, in a way, the law of averages, that New York had an above normal snow year. And it looks like, again, if we're going to go over the 3 inch mark, climatologically, there's like an 85% chance that New York City will see an above normal snow year if that indeed happens. And I just heard from Mrs. Rayo, who says, ring the bell, because on her counter, we apparently have gone above 100 as far as likes. And we thank you very much for that, all of you watching right now.
By the way, I just put up the H triple. This is the H triple R through noon tomorrow, and it has basically an inch or two, lesser amounts near the coast. Some places nothing at all, and then you just go just inland, including New York City, which gets just under an inch, and then you get the 1 to 2 across northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, and into the lower Hudson Valley, and then a bit more as you run up into the Catskills. And then I'll do one more for laughs. We'll do the European model, because this way I can stay with the European and move on to the next one. But this is the European. Let me just go out far enough. There you go. So this is the European on the 18Z, which gives basically a half an inch to an inch along the coast down to central Jersey, and then 1 to 2 as you go north. They're not nearly as aggressive, much less aggressive when you get up into the Catskills and points north from there. So that's the European model. Now I'm going to come back and let's set up the next one after this, because Wednesday and Thursday are going to be dry days. I mean, there really shouldn't have any particular problem on those days. Here is the cold front that I mentioned. First of all, here's the European with the system for tomorrow. and gone. And again, a little colder behind it, but nothing to write home about, just near normal temperatures. And then we get another cold front that comes through on Thursday with little fanfare on Christmas Day, and then that goes through. But with this, we do have that cold high. That's a 1034 high at James Bay. And again, because of the negative NAO, that high is forcing the next low, and you see it there in North Dakota, moving into northern Illinois, and you start to think, okay, well, it's going to go to the lakes, but that next high doesn't get out of the way and starts to suppress everything to the south, and the low winds up going into West Virginia, and you can see how the Europeans got snow here by late Friday afternoon, and even some dark blue heavy snow there in the Hudson Valley to New York City, and it passes over Long Island and goes offshore, as does the low as it moves southeastward, just redevelops there off North Carolina, and then pushes east, where we still have a little bit of snow going on Saturday morning and done. So that's the Europeans' view. And the GFS has something similar. In fact, today's GFS actually went a little further south on the 18Z run, but it's got all snow all the way down except for extreme southern New Jersey, and all that purple is sleet and freezing rain, and then it goes away. So again, that negative NAO is the big player here. If it's strong, as long as it remains as strong as it's being indicated, you're going to get this loader that's going to want to go to the south. And if we can generate a half an inch of liquid out of this, it could be a 4, 5, 6 inch event for somebody, and then it goes away, and then we move on into next week when we get another weather front that comes through on Sunday with some rain, and then it turns perhaps significantly colder for the beginning of next week, and it looks pretty cold as we head into the middle part of next week before another cold front comes through late in the week and right around New Year's Day. So, you know,
And you still don't want one thing that I know the snow lovers do not want to see is that with each passing run, if it makes that big eastern Canada high a little stronger with each passing run, that would force the advancing disturbance for Friday to go further south, and sometimes you get too much of a good thing, too much cold air, and that may nudge or shove the majority of the snow or most of the snow, the lion's share of the snow, to the west and south of New York City, and
right,
we've seen that happen too. And that's why I say, yeah, you can get excited. Sure, no one is going to get aggravated if you start hoping or dreaming if you're a snow lover for some of the white stuff for Friday. But again, you should wait until you're maybe another 24 or 36 hours closer so that we get better data so that we were able to get a better handle as to exactly where everything, the placement of where everything is going to be. And again, you don't want too much cold air because we have seen that happen. High pressure builds in cold air, and sometimes you get so much cold air. Even the models, the long range models say, "Hey, look, it's going to snow," but it actually ends up initially for several hours occurring as virga, that it's snow overhead, but it's not reaching the ground. What fun is that? So we'll see how this all plays out for the end of the week. And the first thing you want to look at or you want to be concerned about is what's going to happen tomorrow morning. We'll see how that goes.
this GFS loop of the upper air, I think, is really interesting. For one thing, first of all, we've been dealing with this Alaskan trough in the west for the last 7 to 10 days. It didn't seem like it would go away, and that's what happened in prior years, particularly not so much last year, but the year before that, where we had this Alaskan trough, axis from Alaska down to the west coast, and it just sat there for the entire winter. Well, it's breaking down, and you can also see the block that's developing over the top between Greenland and Iceland, and it just strengthens. I mean, really gets strong over the weekend, and what it's doing to the upper flow here in the eastern part of the United States. Now, it's not cross polar, but the flow is from northwest Canada, so that is, that's decent cold air that's coming down. But you can see the blocky look to all of this. I mean, and and all of this blockiness is going to create all sorts of model havoc in the longer term. Beyond what happens this weekend, I would just be really cautious about trying to map out what may happen beyond that, because you've got too much going on here with this big blocking high, the upper low that's going to be somewhere in, over Newfoundland, not quite a 50-50 low, but not far away from it. And then you have more, this northwest flow that just continues, and upper low after upper low dropping into the eastern part of the United States. So it's a very interesting pattern. I think for the next week to 10 days. After that, who knows? I mean, it may go away, it may not go away, but I will say that having that cold pattern in December kind of relaxed a little bit in the last week. Now it seems to be coming back in a slightly different fashion with all this blockiness. It's certainly making for interesting forecast times. And by the way, let's look at Saturday. Let's look at the Friday night, Saturday system again. I just want to, just really quick, we can take a look, because I know you guys want to see it. And if I don't show it, you're going to see it elsewhere, but at least I get to put some context to it. So if we look at the Europeans track, let's just make an assumption here. Let's assume, which is a dangerous thing to do, I know, but let's assume that the European is correct. This is what it comes out with as far as snow is concerned for late Friday into early Saturday. So it's basically a 3 to 6, 4 to 8 event, with the heaviest snows from parts of Long Island to the Hudson Valley in northern New Jersey, even some decent snow amounts of 4 inches plus all the way down through central New Jersey and along the New Jersey shore and extending back into eastern Pennsylvania. That's the European. If we look at the GFS, which was a little further south on its run, it kind of went a little bonkers here. Now, I'm going to put the 24-hour snowfall just to make it a little more honest so we can take out, this way it doesn't have tomorrow's in there. So let's look at the 24-hour snowfall. And this would be for the period ending, let's try 132. Does that work? 126. Okay, 120. There you go. So 120 is ending so from 1 o'clock Friday to 1 o'clock Saturday, if the latest run of the GFS is right, it would have a 6 to maybe 8 or 9 inch snowfall for much of New Jersey to Long Island to the lower Hudson Valley. Again, a lot of things still have to be in play. I would be very cautious going in either route, because the real variable, I think, Joe, is going to be the strength of that high to the north, because
Yes.
that's going to be the player. And by the way, that's good. With that high in that position, we're going to get that Hudson Valley wind on Friday. It's going to get cold. I mean, it's not like we're going to be snowing and it's going to be 36 or 7. I mean, we're going to be down in the, that, and we're not going to see it reflected in forecast temperatures probably for another couple of days. But I think it's going to be rather cold if this event transpires in the way that the models are showing.
And we don't know exactly. I mean, this is a storm that on Friday morning is going to be somewhere over Iowa, for example, and by Saturday morning it's going to be somewhere off the mid-Atlantic coast. And the question here is it going to continue? Is it going to go from Iowa straight through the coastal plain and then offshore, or does it somehow manage to begin to break down over, let's say, western Pennsylvania or West Virginia, and then lateral its energy to a new system offshore? If that be the case, sometimes you can end up in the screw zone
You're doing
if you
this. Now,
pardon my English here.
and that did not happen in the last case.
Right.
The models, none of the models showed that happening, and it did not happen. And that's not to say it's going to it won't happen again. But maybe in the one on Saturday might be a little different. Hard to say. But one other thing, just want to also point out. Uh, Earlier today on the digital forecast for Friday, all the highs were believe it or not, all the highs were up in the low 50s. Okay. Uh, Now on the updated digital forecast, upper 20s to around 30 in the Hudson Valley, low and middle 30s down into central New Jersey. And that's a reflection of that
Yeah.
cold high in the north building down. So these are
What happened?
the new
What
forecast highs.
what happened? You have no idea. I wish I had a dollar. I wish I had a dollar for every social media site, either a web page or on Facebook. 2 weeks ago, Joe, that was showing the forecast for Christmas and saying blowtorch weather for Christmas. Look at this, above normal, way above normal temperatures. No chance we're going to see a white Christmas. No chance of any cold weather at Christmas time. It's going to be very warm. It's going to be in the 50s, maybe the 60s. What happened? That was 2 weeks ago. And now suddenly here we are at Christmas looming upon us in the next 3 days. And I don't see, as you just pointed out, Joe, I don't see temperatures in the 50s or 60s. I see a noticeably chillier or colder weather pattern shaping up for the middle and especially the latter part of this week, thanks to that big building high over eastern Canada.
Well,
Which
the new thing is not only when it comes to snow, but now you're seeing the people anything that shows an extreme, whatever it is,
right,
be it snow or rain or more, way above normal temperatures. As long as it's an extreme, the social media goons are picking up, weather goons are picking up on it and just
yes,
putting it up there for and then of course they put that stupid the so-called disclaimer. Well, this is not a forecast. Well, if it's not a forecast, why are you showing it?
why are you showing it? Why are
That's
you
the
showing it?
point. If you're saying it's not a forecast, why? And you can't get away with saying that the model's doing it because then my response to that is, well, if the model comes out and shows you that the entire world is going to blow up, are you going to do that? Are you going to say, well, this is not a forecast? I mean, I don't. We know why you're doing it. It's because you're getting clicks and you're making a ton of money, and you're causing huge problems with us sane weather people who actually do sane weather and don't go into this bull crap. So there you go. You got a rant on Christmas. That's everybody's Christmas gift from me. You hear me screaming. By the way, I'm going to see if I can show this because I want everybody's mouth to water. Okay, let me see if I can do this. Um, so tonight, I know some of you on the chat board have mentioned this. But tonight I had, I mentioned the other last Thursday when we did our last show that there was a possibility that we were going to come on late, and the reason why was because my brother and my sister-in-law came up from Florida, and so I had a Christmas dinner for them here, which I prepared, and I'm going to put this up. And here you go. Let's see if I can get it on the screen. Yeah. It's on YouTube Shorts. And here it is. This is I made a prime rib that I cooked perfectly medium rare.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Oh my gosh, it's perfect. Perfect temperature.
It's supposed to be medium rare.
Well, that's what it is. It's perfect. Definitely what it is. Looks awesome,
What a perfectly cooked medium rare prime rib looks like, folks. If you don't like it, too bad. Be vegan.
The angry chef.
Vegan? Is anybody a vegan?
And that's my brother.
Hey.
That's my brother carving it.
Big mistake.
I didn't cook it, but I got the cut.
And the hungry loafers.
I didn't cook it, but I got the cut.
And me, who prepped it all. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I got a little weird. What's that noise? Oh, you doing something over there? There you go. Well, anyway, that's what I did. Get back on the screen here. I'm not the best director in the world. I'm probably one of the worst, but that's me. But I made an absolutely perfect prime rib. That awful noise was courtesy of Joe Rayo. He was doing something. I don't know what you were doing, but you were doing something.
I cannot hear you when my microphone is plugged in.
Oh, okay.
And so I had to unplug the mic, but unfortunately it overmodulated.
Ah.
So this is one of the things that I hate about this computer. I've only had this computer for a few weeks now, and there are some things on this computer that I can't do that I used to be able to do with my other computer. And one of the things is that I could, manage to switch it so that I could hear what you're showing on the screen, but not over modulate so that it interferes with it. I'm still learning this thing, so.
That's okay. No problem. Okay, very important question on the chat board from DJ Fenya saying, "What seasoning is in the crust?" Okay, so this is what I did. Uh, yesterday, I unwrapped it. I took it out. I do not wash meat. Okay, why you would wash meat is beyond me. But I do not wash meat. Some people do that. I think they're nuts. Okay. So the crust that was created, I did uh, salt and pepper, obviously, paprika, granulated garlic. Like I don't have time to like start mincing fresh garlic and stuff. So and cutting it up. So I just use granulated garlic. I think it's just as good. If you're a garlic purist and you hate me for that, that's fine. I'm not, you're not creating any issues for me. But anyway, well seasoned all around. And then I put it in the refrigerator for at least 12 hours because that causes that crust to form around the prime rib. And then when I took it out this morning, I took a half a pound of Irish butter and I just covered the entire prime rib in Irish butter. Uh, then in the oven at 500 degrees for 15 minutes. This was a four. I would say this was a three bone, roughly 4.5 pound prime rib. I put it in the oven, 500 degrees for 15 minutes. And if you're a germaphobe, which is another thing I don't have any use for. If you're a germaphobe, putting anything at 500 degrees will kill it. Okay, so there's nothing there that's going to hurt you. Anyway, after that, I turned it down. I turned the thermostat down to 215, and I use a thermometer. I cook it at 215 degrees for until the internal temperature gets to 115. At which point I take it out of the oven and I let it sit on the stove top until the internal temperature, because it keeps climbing for a good half hour after you take it out of the oven. The internal temperature will continue to climb, and when it gets to 130, you're at perfect medium rare. From the first slice to the last slice, they're all the same, perfect medium rare, and that's how you do it. So I hope that inspires somebody to make a nice rib roast for Christmas.
If not a rib roast, a rump roast.
A rump roast, but this is a rib roast, and thank God it was on sale because with the price of beef these days, well, the regular price of something like this is $20 a pound, but it was $10 a pound, so I actually bought two of them, and I'm going to make another one on New Year's Day for some friends. So we're all set. And I served it with oh, I also seasoned, by the way. I put sage, thyme, rosemary, fresh sage, thyme, and rosemary. And I have ground sage, which I buy, which really helps too because you can get it into all the spots. So I'm a big fan of sage and rosemary. Just great herbs, and it was absolutely perfect, absolutely perfect. So anyhow, there you go. So we'll be back tomorrow night, okay? And then we're going to be off on Wednesday, Christmas Eve, and Thursday, Christmas Day, because those are holidays for family, and we should all be spending time with our families for as long as we can stand them. Then Joe and I are going to be back on Friday. So we'll see you tomorrow. Oh, another question. Same spices, but I don't have the sage. I have homemade baked ziti on the side and with my homemade sauce. Yeah, that's fine. It's a lot of when I was younger, I could do the ziti and the prime rib, but I'm at the age right now where I can't do both. So I'm trying to eat less. And also, my side dishes were uh, garlic roasted potatoes, sliced up almost like steak fries, and same ingredients, same seasonings. Okay, with olive oil on the butter, and then some curry butter on the top, and then moving on to and the other thing I made was a spinach salad with strawberries, some nuts, some pecans and walnuts, and I used a chocolate balsamic vinegar, a dark chocolate balsamic vinegar with the salad. It was amazing how good that was. So if if you go to some specialty olive oil stores that sell balsamic vinegar, you can find it. Dark chocolate balsamic vinegar, excellent. Now we say goodbye,
Finally.
unless you have anything unless you have anything else to add.
I have nothing. I think you've covered just about everything. We've covered everything from weather to fine cooking.
And yes, Patrick Darcy, I make the gravy from the meat juice runoff. I put it in a pan with a cup of red wine, a little bit of beef broth or beef stock, okay, and just boil it down and just bring it to a boil so all the alcohol burns off, and then you've got your au jus, okay. And and on that note, night night.
Good night, folks. See you tomorrow.